Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for Bni Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. So today's webinar is a special webinar that we do specifically for leadership teams, and this is a very exciting time of year because we have a whole new slate of incoming leaders that are going to be taking over positions as of October 1st. Although it doesn't happen in every region around the world on October, some actually change over in April. I am very excited to welcome some new people into these positions in just a couple of days. So as a kind of a preemptive learning strike for that, we're going to be going through some of the leadership team things that happen in the system. So yesterday, we actually went through and talked about all the different leadership team tools and reports that are available to you. Kind of those basic functions. How do you enter a POMS report, and how do you enter the speaker rotation, and what are some of the cool reports in the system that can help you do your day-to-day jobs within Bni Connect and within your chapters. But one thing that we didn't have time to do in that webinar yesterday was to talk about the goals in Bni Connect, and there's a great tool here in the system that allows you to establish some goals for the next 6 months or 12 months here in BNI. And the great thing is that as you progress through the year, Bni Connect will update your goals and the actual results of what you're achieving in your chapter, and you can really follow along throughout the year. You can even adjust them if you need to do so by moving them up or down. So with that said, we're going to go through that today. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Today's webinar, if you're with me today here right now, this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions as we're going through the material today, you can stop me, but just by typing a question into the questions panel. I'll see that question pop up on my screen, and I'll be able to answer it as we're going through the material today. If you happen to be listening to this in the recording, then if you have a question for me, feel free to email that question, support@bniconnect.com. Again, it's support@bniconnect.com. There's also a handout with today's session. If you look in your handouts section of the GoToWebinar software, you will see a download there if you'd like to use it. It is called 2016 Chapter Goals Blank, and it's just a very simple Excel file. It looks something like this. I'll open one up for you. It just looks like this, and all this is basically the goals function in Bni Connect on a spreadsheet format, which allows you to work on this, let's say at a leadership team meeting offline, and then somebody can go back and input the data into Bni Connect. Chris, quick thing, Chris says, I tried the phone access number and the access code was not accepted. The access code should be the same as the number is for the, what the session is when you registered. So the access number should be 590-389-587. So if anybody is trying to dial in on the phone, that's what the number should be, 590-389-587. So hopefully that helps. All right, so the other thing is that, again, this is live. This is set for about a half hour. I like to keep these kind of short and sweet and just focus on one thing. Otherwise, it's kind of like drinking from the fire hose and getting way too much information at once. So we're going to keep this to about a half hour. That said, this is my job. This is what I do all day, every day. I answer questions about Bni Connect. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer those, and I will stay on this call until every single question has been answered, whether it's about the goals or if you were on the webinar yesterday, if it had something to do with one of the leadership tools or functions, feel free to ask anything you'd like to about Bni Connect, and I will be happy to answer it. We are recording this session as we record all of our sessions. They are made available in two places. One is on the support site, which you can access by clicking on the question mark in the upper right-hand corner. And the other is by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. I got yesterday's session converted, but I haven't uploaded it yet. I'm hoping to upload both today and yesterday's session either later today or tomorrow. So you'll be able to find those links, and I will email them out to the participants as well so that you guys can pass them on. Let's say that you're the vice president, but your president couldn't make it and you'd like to share that recording with them, then you can forward that link along. David said, where's the Excel download? Never mind, I found it. You have to click on the GoToWebinar software and you'll see a downloads or handouts section. Paula says, tried to find the one from the last 2 days, couldn't find them. Again, Paula, it's just been crazy here with the end of quarter and with all the leadership team trainings going on and everything. I just haven't uploaded them yet. I will personally email you guys all as soon as I do get them uploaded so that you don't keep searching for them, and let you know that they're there and available. If I can get them done by today, I will do so, but hopefully no later than the end of the day tomorrow. Okay? Awesome. So now that we've gotten all the housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the goals. Now, the goals program in Bni Connect is a great little tool for leadership teams, and it's good for a couple of reasons. First of which, it's the old mantra, that which gets measured gets done. And it happens to all of us. We're all in BNI. I'm a member, by the way, as well. I'm going to be on the membership committee of my chapter this time around. But we're really busy, all of us. We have jobs, we have lives, we have kids, we have, Boy Scouts and soccer and all of this other stuff that we're doing in our day-to-day lives. Then we take on this leadership team position as well. So now we have even more responsibilities piled up on top. That's all well and good, and it's great that we're doing this, but, we tend to, again, once we leave the BNI meeting, we tend to kind of go about our other business. And then all of a sudden we get to our BNI meeting again a week later and like, oh yeah, I forgot I was going to do this, or oh man, I forgot to check on our progress. This can help you to really a little bit more keep some focus on that. So the way to get to this function is to go to the operations menu. If you remember from one of our previous webinars, operations is where all of our day-to-day input and really functionality is. So I'm going to go to the operations menu and go to the chapter operations. Now again, just a reminder, if you're not part of the leadership team yet, you may not have access to this function until that position gets assigned. That does happen automatically on October 1st. So the first time you log in on October 1st, you should see all of your leadership team functionality now in place. You don't have a separate username or anything like that. The option just shows up. So the place we go for this is under operations. We're going to go to manage goals, and you'll see two things. You'll see enter chapter goals and view chapter goals. So the view will show us, basically how we're doing with the goals once you have entered them. But in order to get that, first thing we're going to have to do is to enter some goals into the system. So I'm going to click on enter chapter goals. All right, once we get into the chapter goals, the first thing it's going to do is ask us to come up with a mission statement and a long-term vision. All right, so this is more of the dialogue portion of it as opposed to the statistics portion of it. And this is really where you're defining, the feel of your chapter over the next 6 months or a year. Now this part you only have to do once, but you can change it anytime you want to. So the long-term vision. The long-term vision is really, where do we want to get to as a chapter, right? Where's, looking further down the highway, where is it that we're going to? Now, typically, my recommendation here is that this isn't the part where we necessarily focus on numbers, right? The numbers portion of it is going to come when we enter, the actual, what's the size of our chapter this month, next month, the month after that. This one is more of a, something to get behind, and it could be even something that you don't achieve for a long time. So, like for example, here's what I put in for our long-term vision for, this is the Bni Burr chapter in the Shiver region of Antarctica. We've decided that we want to grow this chapter to be the largest chapter in the entire continent. Right? And in addition, we wish to be the #1 chapter in closed business and referrals within a 200-mile radius. So this is kind of our our rallying cry as a leadership team of where we want to get to as a chapter. And you'll notice in this one, at least the way that I do this is I don't put the numbers into this one. Like, I don't say that we want to close $5 million in closed business, or we want to be a chapter of 50 members, because that's going to happen when I start establishing the numbers as part of the tracking process. Again, this is more of a feeling of where we want to get to. All right. So if the long-term vision is where you want to get to, the mission statement is going to be how you're going to get there, right? So this is going to really be your guiding principles of how you want to get where you're going. Okay, and what we've decided in the Bni chapter as our mission statement is to help members increase their business through a structured, positive, and professional word-of-mouth program that enables them to develop long-term, meaningful relationships with quality business professionals. So that's our mission statement. So we want to be the largest chapter in the continent, want to be the #1 closed chapter in chapter in closed business, and we're going to do that by helping members increase their business through this word-of-mouth program. Okay, so that's the first part of this. The next thing we're going to do is we do need to choose a start month and year. The way that we do the goals in Bni Connect is we enter them in batches of 6 months. By default, it's going to give us our next 6-month period in Bni, which currently is starting with October 1st and going to be through March. But you can start any month you want to. If you want to backdate your goals to establish patterns or something like that, you can do that if you want to, or you can just start with this month or go into next month and move forward from there. That is completely up to you. Now the goals are, once you enter them, we'll start tracking them. They're not permanent though, so you can go in if you want to and edit them or adjust them as necessary. So this helps with the accountability for you as a group, but we don't want this to be restrictive or even disheartening. If you mess up the goals, you say you set them way too high, go back and lower them. If you set them way too low and you're doing awesome, go back in and adjust them to a higher level of goals. All right, but we're gonna choose the next 6-month period, since October 1st starts in just a couple of days. Then I'm going to go ahead and click Go. And what this is going to do is just kind of create a blank spreadsheet for me for the next 6 months, so October, November, December, January, February, March. So I have my next 6 months worth of goals here. And then it's going to, the rest of this spreadsheet is what we call the chapter success drivers. So as with any goals, our success needs to be measurable. So all of these things are measurable results that we're going to have. So those chapter success drivers are going to be attendance percentage. How many people are attending your meeting on a weekly basis? What percentage of members? The total number of one-to-ones that your members are having. The total number of CEUs. Now I know not all chapters around the world are using CEUs, but the CEUs are the chapter education units. So for example, you would get 1 CEU as a member for attending today's webinar. If you've been with me all week so far, then you would have been earning 3 CEUs so far this week for each webinar that you've attended. Visitors are obviously the visitors that have been to your chapter. Number of new memberships. The total number of members that are in your chapter or your chapter size, the number of referrals that your members are passing, and finally we have thank you for closed business. All right, now going back up to the top to attendance, you'll notice there's a couple of different things that we have here. The first of which is the actual attendance percentage. So what is the goal number that we have? And that part's pretty straightforward. It's just a number that we're entering. So for example, with our attendance percentage, what do you want for an attendance percentage? Now, one thing to keep in mind when we're setting our goals, and this is just my personal advice and the way that I do things, we kind of know where we are right now. right? So I kind of know that my chapter has, about an 86% attendance average. I can find that out, by the way, by going back to some old reports or going to some, the chapter traffic lights report, for example, that's in the reports in Bni Connect. That gives you some of these statistics. But I do know that we also want to improve that. So I kind of know that we're at 86% or so attendance now. So in the first month, we're probably not going to see a ton of movement. So my goal for this first month is just to kind of stay the same and not get any worse. But I also know that we need to improve that. So let's say that by the end of this, I kind of want to get up to, I don't know, let's say 96%. So I want to improve by 10 percentage points. So now I know where we're starting and I know where we're going. So for me, it becomes very easy then to create a linear progression over those months. So 86 to 96, that's about 2% per month. 88, 90, 92, 94, 96. Right? So I know where we are, I know where I'd like to get to, and we can kind of have a straight path in between. Now, before anybody argues against that, this is a very simple way to do that. And to all the business consultants out there, yes, we can throw in a bunch of variables to make this more realistic as well as more accurate. For example, we know that November and December are typically really tough months for attendance because we have holidays, right? So we have Christmas and Hanukkah and, Thanksgiving and New Year's and, all of these holidays and, kids got school vacation and all that. So it throws a big, monkey wrench into it. So, it may be wise to kind of lower the percentage goal a little bit that month and then build it back up again afterwards. But again, there's always going to be those kind of variables. What I say is let's start simple. Let's get something in there before we overcomplicate it. I would rather have you guys put in some very simple goals and be aware of those than to spend, 5, 6, 8, 10 hours arguing over the minutia of the goals and then end up never putting anything in. Does that make sense? So, with that said, I'm just going to stick with linear goals for today. So 86 to 96, it's about 2% per month. Oh, by the way, I skipped something up here. When you're entering your goals, before you start entering your goals, you do have to choose whether or not you want for the whole chapter goals or per member goals. Basically, this is defining your calculation that you're putting into the spreadsheet here. I usually miss this because almost nobody ever changes this. 99% of the people that use this enter these as a whole chapter number. So basically we're asking you, do you want to work with a big number or a small number when you're putting it into the spreadsheet? When we get to the view goals portion, when we actually start monitoring the goals, it's going to calculate them out into per chapter goals if you put them in as per member. The other thing is that this is a whole spreadsheet setting, so you can't switch back and forth between them. It will apply it to all of the numbers on the sheet. So it's really just a switch. All right, but again, most people just leave this as for the whole chapter. All right, so we have our numerical goals in. You'll see that there's also a couple of things below that, and that says mechanism. Here's actually what I really like about this particular goal planning thing is that what the mechanisms help you do is to plan out your strategy for how you want to achieve your goals, right? And that's a part that we often overlook when we're doing any type of a goal setting exercise is, yeah, I know I want to get to 96% attendance, but really, how are we going to achieve that? And this goes back to that part about being really, really busy in all of our businesses. And, again, we only do the BNI thing. We only go to these chapter meetings once a week. We might have some leadership team meetings in between. We may talk with members in between. We have our one-to-ones. But really, most of the stuff that we're doing in BNI is going to happen at that meeting. So, for example, Maybe one way that I want to increase attendance percentage is by making sure that our chapter knows about the new 6-month rolling absence policy and that we implement that, right? So maybe I want to make sure that right away here, we want to make sure that we're implementing the 6-month rolling, rolling absence policy. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. And how else can we do that? Maybe we're going to make sure that we do 2 educational moments about how it works and why. And then maybe in November, we want to make sure we're going to follow up and make sure that the VP and membership committee are sending the accountability letters. And maybe in December, we want to do one way that we're going to do this, Christmas, falls on our meeting day. So maybe rather than, skipping the meeting that week, maybe we want to have a joint meeting with another chapter that meets on a different day. And that way our chapter doesn't miss out on a week of BNI. Right, so that's what these mechanisms are, is for you and your leadership team to plan. That way you have this report that you've filled out, and when you're at your monthly leadership team meeting, you can say, oh yeah, that's right, we were going to do a Visitors Day in April. We have to make sure that we announce it now. Or yeah, let me shoot a quick email to the education coordinator reminding him that I wanted to do a education moment on why it's important to be at the meeting, right? Now, if you're struggling for ideas, like, well, what are good mechanisms? You'll notice there's a button here at the top. It says the Chapter Goal Guide. Again, the Chapter Goal Guide. And if you click that, that will give you some ideas for all of these different success drivers. So, for example, for attendance, here's about a dozen or so ideas. Educate members on how to find a substitute. That's a good one. Implement the mentoring program. Now, if you're lazy like me, highlight it, right-click, choose copy or Control-C, and you can just paste this right in to the box. Right? So that's the attendance percentage. Let's just review some of these other things, what they mean, and some possible ideas for how to enter them. So I actually recommend skipping around a little bit. Maybe someday I can get them to change the order, but that really after attendance percentage, one of the next most important things that we think about is, well, how big do we want to grow our chapter? So I like to skip to that one next. So I'm going to skip down and go straight to number of members in the chapter. Right? Number of members in the chapter. Now, our chapter right now, my Burr chapter in Antarctica, we have 30 members. And you know what? I would like to grow this group to the next level. I want to go from a 30-member chapter to a 40-member chapter over the next 6 months. 30 members to 40 members. So you may notice I like easy math, so that means that we're going to grow by about 2 members per month. So 32, 34, 36, 38, and 40. Right? So nice linear growth there. Now, again, remember, there may be other factors here. So let's say that, you're going to have a Visitors Day in February or something like that. You may put on 8 members that month. So you may want to work that into the goals. But again, start out simple. And we need some mechanisms to go along with that. As I said, you skip around here. Let's say that we know we're going to be doing a Visitor Day in March. But really, for a Visitor's Day to work, we have to prep that Visitor's Day 2 months in advance. So we need to make sure that we announce the Visitor's Day, and we want to make sure that we are, following the Visitor Day process throughout the month of February. So let's see, Russ says, is a mechanism 1 and 2 required for every month when creating our goals? No, absolutely not. You can put in as much or as little information as you want here. So you can just fill out the numbers if you want to. You could just fill out a mechanism here or there as you're thinking of it now. You can come back and do it later. Whatever you'd like to do there, that's completely up to you. Again, this is a tool for you to use and to hold yourselves accountable, but we're not going to require that information. Does that make sense, Russ? Does that help? Now, again, as I said, you can, again, this could take a while, okay? So make sure that you click the save button every now and again. Bni Connect does have a 30-minute timeout. It has a 30-minute timeout. That means that, let's say that you guys are having a leadership meeting and you're doing these goals online together as a group, which is a great way to do this. And you get distracted and you get halfway through your goals and all of a sudden your computer's gone to sleep. You come back a half hour later, you'll be logged out of Bni Connect and you will lose everything that you did. So all the way at the bottom of the screen, right, there is a save button. Just click that save button as often as you want to, and that will save your progress, okay? And even if I was to completely exit out and come back in, what I've done so far will be saved. All right, so that's number of members in the chapter. And again, there's some great mechanisms that go along with that, and you guys can come up with your own. All right, so now that we know how many members we have in the chapter, we also know, well, the next one up, how many new members that we need in order to achieve that goal. So in order to get to that, from 30 to 32 to 34 to 36, that's a net of 2 members per month. So we can put in, 2 members each month. However, really we have to take one more thing into consideration. I don't know a single chapter in the world that has a 100% retention rate. BNI in general has somewhere around a 60% retention rate, but that said, really the average is about 1 member per month attrition. Now, sometimes people leave because they just decide not to renew or because maybe there was a probation type situation, but there's just as many members that we lose for reasons beyond our control. For example, members that, switch jobs, or members that are moving to another state, or members that, they're having a child, or they are, whatever it might be. Their child now is going to be going to kindergarten and they have to put them on the bus. Whatever the reason is, there are reasons beyond our control that we lose members. So really, in order to maintain your membership, you need really to bring in 1 new member per month plus this 2, which is going to end up being 3. Right? And again, you have these different mechanisms. Again, we know that Visitors Day is going to help us with that as well. So maybe I just want to copy and paste some of these mechanisms up into there. Right, now scrolling up again, we go from new members. New members, where do they come from? From visitors. So in order to have new members, we need to bring in visitors. So, and the same thing, I don't know any chapter out there that has a 100% conversion rate, where every single visitor that walks through that door becomes a member. And you know what? That's okay. We don't want to have a 100% conversion rate. Not everybody is a good fit for the chapter. Some people, may be from out of town, or they could be visiting from another chapter, or they may be in conflict, but we love visitors. My chapter, we love visitors no matter what, because visitors almost always buy something from somebody in the room. So we welcome everybody at any time, knowing that probably only about 20 to 30% of them are going to be, even be interested in submitting an application. Now, your conversion rate is going to be different than my conversion rate, than another chapter's conversion rate. You can, again, look that up in the chapter traffic lights, or you can just kind of eyeball it and make a guesstimate. Like I know in my chapter, we have about a 30% conversion rate. So about 1 in every 3 visitors becomes a member. So that means that in order to hit our goal of 3 new members, we're going to need at least 9 visitors each month. Right? We're going to need at least 9 visitors each month. So that will be our goal. All right, so now that we know our new members and our visitors and our number of members. The next ones that we can work on are really our CEUs, our number of one-to-ones, and our number of number of referrals. Now for this one, the way that I do this, and in our region we use a system called the power of one. Again, the power of one. And our concentration in our chapter and our mantra is that we want one of everything. We want to make sure that every single week we are doing one-to-one with another member of the chapter. We're going to be bringing and hopefully producing one referral per week. And we're going to be sharpening our saw by getting one CEU per week. So that's our power of one. We also want to try to bring one visitor per month as a member and have no more than one absence in 6 months. So that makes it pretty easy to get the number of referrals. We're just going to take our number of members. Since each one of them hopefully will be bringing in one referral per month, our goal is we're going to have really 30 members times one referral per week, or 120 referrals per month, right? And then 128, and then 136, and then 144, 152, and 160. Now the nice thing is that's going to be the same for our CEUs and our one-to-ones, right? 120, 128, 136, 144, 152, and 160. And again with our CEUs. And 160. And finally, we have our thank you for closed business. Now, we've decided that we want to be a $1 million chapter. So in order to do that, we need to pass about $100,000 in closed business per month. So I'm going to make sure I put in 100,000. And we're going to do 100,000 per month. And of course, there's plenty of mechanisms to help you out with this, like the BNI game and education moments. Really make use of your educational moments strategically. I'm telling you, your education coordinator, presidents and vice presidents, secretary treasurers, your education coordinator is your secret weapon in the chapter. No need for you to stand up there and be negative in any way, shape, or form. Use your education coordinator to teach people how to do things correctly. So after we've done all this, we click Save. And I'm going to go back now. And if I go back to that Operations Manage Goals menu, we now have the option to view the chapter goals, right? And right now it's going to show us our current 6-month period because we don't have anything yet established for next 6 months. So I could view that and I could see what our goals were, what our various mechanisms were, and whether we're hitting them. So for example here, our goal was 92% attendance. In April, we actually had 100. Our goal was 93%, we had 98. Our goal was 86, we had 100. 85, 96. So you can see that it's tracking our goals. Now again, these are just a bunch of tests that I did in Antarctica. But if I go to the United States here, and there's a region in Florida, the Tampa Bay region. The executive director there actually pretty much designed this goals program and has been using it for years in his region. And I can, for the most part, it hasn't failed me yet. I can randomly pick any chapter because they have 100% compliance on their goals. And yes, the Revenue Raisers chapter has validated it once again. So here we can see that their long-term vision to grow the chapter to 50 members and to create a better, educated, and successful membership, passing referrals and generating thank you for closed business. Their mission statement, education holds the key to raising our members. Focusing on education to increase the number of E2 Education Squared members to 70% of the chapter and to engage members with greater responsibility and roles on leadership and support. So they're pretty hardcore. They said 100% attendance across the board is their goal. So their actual 89, 93, 90, 94, 93, and 99. And there's some of their mechanisms for doing so. So we can check out some of their other goals as well. And again, you can see their path and what they're looking to achieve. And this can be yours too, just by entering your goals into BNI Connect. All right, so we are a couple of minutes past the bottom of the hour. I apologize for being a little bit long-winded today. What I'd like to do right now is to open this up to any questions that you might have. Any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Again, they can be about today's session, about the goals, or anything in BNI Connect. I'm happy to answer those questions now. So we have a question right now from Paula about the webinars. She says, I clicked the question mark. So again, to get there, click this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, this question mark in BNI Connect. That will take you over to the support site. It should look something like this. You can see live and recorded webinars. Our live webinars, you can see in the live webinars, we do have the October schedule up here. So we're going to be continuing this series. We're going to actually start with our leadership team series for the first week. So if there's anybody that missed this session that's taking over a position next week, they can get the training right away. And I believe what Paula was saying is that under the recorded webinars, I only have July right now. And again, I'm a little bit behind on getting the recordings up there. I will get this month up there as quickly as possible. Basically, all of the recordings, month to month to month, I do this series of 9 webinars every single month. So we start out with completing your profile and giving tracking referrals and connecting and all of these, including the chapter goals for leadership teams. Pretty much it's the same presentation every month. We talk about the same topics. Usually just the questions are a little bit different. So while you're waiting for today's presentation to be uploaded, feel free to go to July and you will see this chapter goals for leadership teams. You can go through this and as you can see, it's just, it's almost the same as what we were just talking about in today's session. Okay? Does that help, Paula? Let's see, Russ says, once we gain access, will we be available to view the current chapter goals that are about to expire? Yes, absolutely. You can, you'll be able to view the goals. The goals aren't limited, so you can go back as far in time as you want to, or ahead as forward in time as you want to. So once you have access to the function, you should have access to it kind of forever. So, okay, so Paula, you want to try to send it to your VP? Here's what you do. Go to this link here. Here, let me give you the link. I'm gonna put these into the chat window. If you go to that link, you can go to this chapter goals presentation, and you see how there's a share button on it? You want to send them that link right here. Or there's a link at the bottom, and I will put that link in there as well. So that's the, right, so right now only the ones through July I've posted. I will, if I can get through the support tickets this afternoon, I will go and get these ones uploaded as quickly as possible. So, but yes, right now I only have it through July. All right. Sharon asks, can any member view the goals or just the leadership? So generally speaking, if I log in as just a member, or if you're logged in right now as just a member, you should be able to see the view chapter goals. Generally speaking, everybody in the chapter can view the goals and follow along with them throughout the year. However, only people, the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, usually only they can enter the goals. Okay, so usually everybody can see the goals, but only the the leadership team can enter them. All right, does that help? But permissions in BNI Connect are customizable based on region preferences. So your executive director makes that choice as to who can see what and who can access what in the system. All right, excellent question. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Any other questions at all? So again, I just, in another window here, I just logged in as a regular member. And what you can see is I have manage goals, but I only have access to view chapter goals. Once you become on the leadership team, you'll see manage goals and you'll see both options. Okay, so does that hopefully that helps, Sharon? Sandy says, do we want to fill out all of the goals? Yeah, my recommendation is yes. You would like to go through and fill out all of the goals that are there. Do you have to do it all in one sitting? No, absolutely not. What I recommend doing though, have a couple of leadership team meetings. I actually recommend taking that spreadsheet and using that first and jotting down some notes. Then one person can go back, and it should only take about 10 minutes to type that into BNI Connect and save it. So you can do it offline, go to a coffee shop or something like that, or someplace where you can just relax and chat as a leadership team and go through the goals. It should be a fun process. So Sandy says, during leadership training, we were advised to really just focus on 2 goals at once. So if that's what your team has advised you to do, by all means, please follow what your team tells you to do. Again, every region is a little bit different. I'm in Rhode Island, you may be in Texas or Florida or Georgia or Virginia or Mexico or Spain or the United Kingdom, and everybody has a slightly different way of doing it. And there's also different levels of chapters. A 20-member chapter has a different set of goals and a different focus than a 50-member chapter. And I can tell you, because my chapter, we've been a 20-member chapter, we've been a 50-member chapter. So at 20, when we're 20 members, we're concentrated almost 100% on growing our chapter. So all of our focus is going towards visitors and new members, visitors and new members, visitors and new members. My chapter now is 50 members. Our big focus now is on one-to-ones and referrals, because yes, we want to continue to grow and we want to continue to have new members, but our focus right now is to make sure that nobody slips through the cracks. And in a 50-member chapter, it's really easy for somebody to get lost in the crowd and not get enough referrals. So our concentration right now is on embracing everybody in the group and making sure that everybody stays involved. So Sandy, does that help? So I'm using very general terms today in this presentation to really describe something that is kind of very personalized when it comes to specific chapters. Awesome. All right, do we have any other questions? Any other questions at all? Questions, concerns, complaints, and compliments. I welcome them all. All right, if there's no other questions, just one final reminder, our very last webinar for the month is going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the online renewals in BNI Connect for those regions that are utilizing that. Then next week we're going to start this leadership team session right away over again. We're going to talk about on Monday, the leadership team tools and reports. Tuesday we're going to do this presentation again, chapter goals. And then on Thursday next week, we're going to talk about chapter web pages. So join us if you'd like to. Paula says, where can we get info on the rolling attendance policy? You should have received that as part of your training. If not, one recommendation is to check your regional document section. So go to the home page. Okay, so click the home button. And then go to My Network. Right here on the left-hand side, you'll see a documents section, and there may be a policy document in there that has the attendance policy for you. Okay? If it's not in there, then I'm afraid what you need to do is contact your regional office, contact your director consultant or your executive director, and they will provide that for you. All right? Awesome. So again, if there are no further questions, thank you guys so much for being here today. I wish you the best of luck with your upcoming leadership team term. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through entering a support ticket or support@bniconnect.com. In the meantime, happy connecting, everyone.